Thank you very much. And like I was saying earlier, this is, Dave, I've had a lot of books in the show. This is a great title, Walk an Aisle in My Shoes. This is the story of your experience working at Safeway. How long were you at Safeway?
About 30 years.
How old were you when you started?
15.
15?
A reluctant 15-year-old.
And how did you fall into that job at first?
It was over a breakfast. My mom decided it was time I got a job, and it was July 1st. And I'm thinking I have the summer as a kid, playing soccer, partying, learning to drive, and meeting girls. And anyways, I ended up getting this job, and I tried everything to avoid it, but they still hired me.
You couldn't help yourself.
Yeah.
I got to show, I mean, there's a lot of great pictures in here, but I want to show this one just because, man, you're a good-looking guy. Tell us a bit about this shot right here.
Well, that's the Reline crew.
Yeah?
That was a crew that we went in and set up new stores. And that was actually, that picture's taken from the Crowfoot Safeway when it was a Food for Less, just before we opened.
And there you are. Who's
The
that dreamboat on the right, huh?
The lucky thing about putting your own book together is that you get to pick the pictures that go in it. And it's funny, every picture I'm in I seem to have hair and a flat belly. So.
Now, tell me a Christmas story. This book is full of different stories of life at Safeway. Tell us what happened one Christmas Eve.
Okay, one Christmas, Christmas is kind of a unique time for retail employees. It's a blend of frustration and you get a very good Christmas spirit. But the store manager is usually the last to leave Christmas Eve, and I don't think people realize, but we have to go there on the Christmas Day because we've got to check the refrigeration.
Sure.
And so Christmas Day, my parents have the most phenomenal open house, and my dad makes these special martinis 21 times shaken and not stirred. And I didn't want to miss that, but I'm checking the store, and lo and behold, there's that infamous puddle on the floor.
Oh.
And the puddle on the floor usually indicates there's a refrigeration problem, something's melting. So I ignored it, and the conscience got the better of me, so I went back, and the meat freezer was down. So I had to call back home and tell my mom and dad I won't be able to make it to the open house. I'm going to have to pull this freezer. And they asked me if I could get someone to help, and I said no, I wouldn't do that to anybody on Christmas Eve. Or Christmas Day. So I started pulling the freezer, and about a half an hour later I hear this tapping on the windows, the old key on the windows, and I look out and I can just see the silhouette of my dad come. So my dad made it all the way up from the other side of town to help me pull the freezer, and we did it in about probably an hour. And we got back to the open house, and Christmas was saved. And I think I finished the story on that one saying it's not what's under the tree that counts, but who's around the tree that counts at
Isn't
Christmas
that
time.
great, huh? That's a great Christmas story. Now, talk to me about the shoplifter and the backpack. I love that story.
Okay. We often get shoplifters in the store, and I've stopped one we saw he'd taken 10 packages of shrimp, frozen shrimp, and thrown them in his backpack, his blue backpack. Anyways, when I stopped him and took him upstairs and opened the backpack, there was nothing in it. He dumped it down an aisle when we hadn't seen him. So I had no choice but to let him in the backpack leave the store. So I watched him leave the parking lot, and as I re-enter the store, I walked past a display of blue backpacks. I didn't realize that backpack looked awful clean when I looked at it.
I love that. Okay, there's a whole bunch I want to talk about. You talk about the difference 15 seconds can make. What do you mean by that?
That was a story. I was driving out to Vancouver Island, and I was going to stay in North Vancouver at my grandma's house. My grandma was staying with us in Calgary at the time, so she gave me her key. So I got into her house, and it was about midnight, and I wanted to catch the 6 o'clock ferry out of Horseshoe Bay to get to Vancouver Island, so I knew I had about 5 hours of sleep. And I knew as soon as my head hit the pillow, I'd be out for as long as I could possibly sleep. Now, if you ever want to know what an 82-year-old grandmother does know, it's an alarm clock. So I had no way of waking myself up, so I thought about it for a bit, and I made a phone call. And a guy answered the phone, and he said, "Oh, this is John at the International Plaza Hotel in North Vancouver." And I said, "John, I was wondering if I could get a wake-up call." He said, "Certainly. What room are you in?" I said, 3837 Norwood Avenue. And he said, "Well, you're not in our hotel?" And I said, "No," and I explained the story. And sure enough, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I got a call saying, "Mr. Rackham, this is your wake-up call." I said, "Thanks, John," and I went on and had a great vacation. But I use that story to tell with the staff in the store to say, you know, how many times do you get an opportunity to make a 15-second impression on somebody? And then I took it one step further and I said, you know, it doesn't have to be only at work. And then I finished the story. I said, now that's a wake-up call.
Isn't that great? And you're saying that really it's not about the store, it's about the people.
No, it is.
It totally is. And if people want to get more, Dave Rackham's book is called Walk an Aisle in My Shoes. Where can I find the book, Dave?
You can find it in Safeway in Alberta. You can find it at Chapters and Indigos. And I'm actually doing a book signing today at the Mackenzie Town Safeway.
You'll be there.
I'll be there.
Isn't that great? City Style and Living also has it in their magazine, the little beach run up there. It's good of you to come by. Thanks so much for being here. You know what? We're just playing a little Rackham up for you. How great is that? Dave Rackham, Walk an Aisle in My Shoes. We'll be walking right back, finding how cold it is to be walking in your shoes to work today. We'll find out.